Check, cash. Hey everybody, this is the Jimmy Doane Show. I'm Counselor Curtis. I'm here with Jimmy Doane. Today we have a special Mother's Day edition. We have Mrs. Jimmy in the studio.
Yep.
Watch out.
Watch out, that's right.
Watch out. So you never know what's going to happen here.
She'll take over.
Probably. So today is Sunday, the 12th of May. We do this twice a week these days at 4 o'clock, Sundays and Wednesdays. I will post a timestamp copy, hey Cousin Bill, up on YouTube right after the show with all the subjects time-stamped for your easy perusal. So, thank you for joining us. What is happening, Dr. Doane?
Oh my God, look at this. Okay, this is great.
Mrs. Jimmy's in a rainforest.
I see.
Where she's right at home.
Oh, good. All right, well, okay. Well, today is Sunday. Believe it or not, Sunday is no deterrent for us to have a constitutional crisis.
It's a crisis.
I mean, the Constitution is going down the toilet. It's a crisis. First time ever, but it's just terrible. What?
You just know there's a bunch of BS happening when they start using metaphors.
I know.
Sheila Jackson Lee said, Trump is taking a wrecking ball to the Constitution.
Wrecking ball to the Constitution. As if
he drowned the Constitution.
That's right. Speaker Nancy Pelosi on Thursday said she agreed with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Gerald Nadler's assertion that the U.S. is currently facing a constitutional crisis after the panel voted to hold Attorney General William Barr in contempt of Congress. Now, what's interesting, of course, is this. Every Democrat has come out and said the words constitutional crisis.
That's because there's no substance. They can't say anything else.
I know, but I remember years ago. When I forget what it was. Somebody was running for president or something, and the word was gravitas. Everybody said gravitas on Meet the Press, on what, and it was gravitas was the word du jour. Well, now it's constitutional crisis, and I think it's interesting that they go on yes, I do agree with Chairman Nadler, she said during a press conference, because the administration has decided that they're not going to honor their oath of office. Now, apparently, they're not going to honor their oath of office because they're not going to turn over what they've already turned over.
Don't get into the details.
Okay? But I like this.
Stick with the broad, swathing paintbrush.
This is very methodical. It's very constitution-based, she says. It's very law-based. It's very factually based, she said. It's not about pressure, it's about patriotism. Now, what they decided to do was, when they're going to subpoena people from the administration, they are talking about instituting $5,000 a day fines for everybody who does not show up over there. $5,000 a day. And you sit there and you wonder, yeah, right, blah, blah, chit-chat. You sit there and think, why not $1 million a day?
Sure, exactly.
Well,
exactly.
Just,
Come
unlimited.
On. Look, if the Constitution is in crisis, right? I mean, if this is going to destroy the nation,
well, here's
$1 billion a
billion
day.
Well, and here's the thing. It's really great about this. When you figure that the budget is what? How much is the budget?
$4 trillion or no?
Okay, so if it's $1 billion a day and they stave everything off for a year or two, they could do the whole budget.
Yeah, there you go.
Just on fines.
All he needs a few billionaires to fine.
Well, that's whatever. Or they go into debt.
Look, I think because it's impossible to tell, that this whole thing stems from the concept of Barr's refusal to turn in the exact completely unredacted copy of the Mueller report, where we learned, you were right, that apparently, according to reports, there's only 10 lines or something that are out of the whole several hundred pages at this point, and the Democrats aren't going to check in the safe room where they can go and read all but the 10 lines.
Safe room,
right? And of course, we get no report of the high-ranking people who must. By law, I guarantee you there are high-ranking congresspeople who have seen every single word of the report because they have top secret clearance, because they're head of the Intelligence Committee,
right,
and things like that. So it's just like it's an incredible dog and pony show. And you've said for a long time, politicians are congenital liars, and I've sort of resisted diving in on that, but I'm telling you, they're making a strong case for it right now. Because I can't imagine. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is very clever. She's very smart, and she's articulate. She knows how to do manipulation very well. I cannot imagine that when she goes home at night, that she sits with her husband and says, "Honey, we're in a constitutional crisis."
Yeah.
I just don't believe that at all. Not even a little bit.
Oh, woe is us.
Yeah.
What do we do now?
I'm convinced that she goes home and says, "We got him on the ropes now,"
Yeah.
or we're mounting this attack, or whatever it is. And so it just seems so political. But I mean, you want to give them that, at least to that extent, but whatever.
Well, the whole point of all of this was just to embarrass and demean Barr.
Well, right. Well, it's all going after Trump. It's they
Well, they want to lessen Barr's
Right.
effectiveness when he goes after them. They are trying to diminish his stature.
yeah.
as
Well,
a
you still think
law-abiding-
he's going after them. I don't think he's going.
I
after
do
them.
think he will. I do think he will.
Well, we'll see.
And I'm toasting to that.
Yeah.
Okay, toast.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day, that's right.
That's right. Okay. So what else we got?
House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard D. Neal, D. Massachusetts, said Friday that he has issued subpoenas to Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. What a name is Mnuchin, anyway? And IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig, demanding 6 years of President Donald Trump's federal tax returns. And I thought this was kind of interesting. The subpoenas came 4 days after Mnuchin said that he would not allow Trump's personal and business tax returns to be released to Congress because he had determined that the request lacks a legitimate legitimate legislative
Yeah.
purpose.
There's a legitimate political purpose.
Right, totally. The House Ways and Means Committee member Bill Pascrell, I guess, of New Jersey, said the subpoenas were necessary only because Trump, Mnuchin, and Rettig have signaled their disdain for our laws over and over again.
Right.
Well,
More
wait a
metaphors. The signaled disdain. I rang the disdain bell, and I said
that's why you have to go overturn your tax. Not for any other reason.
That's right.
Because you don't like us.
Right.
You insulted us, so we're going to come and get your tax returns.
We received a disdainful note from your carrier pigeon.
That's right.
And
So anyway, Neal said his committee, along with 2 others in Congress, it said they're entitled to look at any taxpayer's returns under a section of the IRS code that says the executive branch shall furnish Congress with a taxpayer's information upon request. Now it's interesting because there's 150 million taxpayers in the United States.
we just need one.
Just need one, right?
Just need one. We're going to check oversight. We talked about this before. Their excuse is they have oversight over the IRS, and that therefore they're going to check to make sure they're doing their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But what a joke! If anybody even thinks of this remote, I mean, like
Well, you think about it. The IRS is composed of people who are like auditors supreme.
Right.
I mean, these are the people that can fine tooth a comb
Right.
on the thing, and they can spot without even opening up your return. They can spot the errors. I mean,
Right,
these
right.
people are honed.
Look, here's
on
the
this kind of
thing.
stuff. That number does not look right. That 14-digit number, I question that.
Here's the thing.
So now you're going to go into Congress, and these guys that have no knowledge of, can't add 2 and 2, don't understand the budget, for instance. 22. Is it 22 trillion or 21 trillion?
Yeah. And it's worse than that. From my perspective, you have to believe that Putin has a P tape on all the IRS agents, apparently, that were over Trump's taxes all this time, because why else would they have hidden bad tax returns for the last few decades? They don't do that for anybody else. So the assumption when they're asking for Trump's tax returns is that there's something nefarious in there
Right.
that nobody in the IRS caught.
No, you have to understand, nobody in the IRS for the last 15 years
Right.
has caught it.
Right, the professionals.
You only have to catch, like, in 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
when you consider all the losses, all the wins and everything else, if you'd snagged one little thing,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah, it'd be all over front page news, leaked everywhere.
Yeah.
But no. Now the best they can do is come up with is that he took $1 billion deduction over some period of time.
Right. Well, and he was entitled to
And
it.
as you said, Justice Black said, you're not required to maximize your tax payment.
No.
So
Okay, well, moving on. Speaking of crazy people, Denver is going to be the first city in the U.S. to decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms.
yes, that's right.
I love this part. Denver, to effectively decriminalize psychedelic mushrooms after a final ballot counting flipped the initiative. Apparently what happened was they had a vote on it, and at first it looked like it was defeated, and then it was undefeated. Oh, this is good, yes. And
We are on the moon.
and here we are on the moon.
I
This
want
is
to go
good.
back to the rainforest, please.
No, we're in the moon. This is good. So I thought it was interesting that first marijuana and now mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms. We've always had some fun here. Here in Gainesville, it's interesting because years ago there was right down the road here there was a cow pasture, and I mean every weekend people would go out there. Nobody was overseeing it. It was just and they would go and you'd see kids all over the place picking them up out of the poop.
Yeah.
Out of the cow poop.
Yeah, and people have been doing it for a long time. I mean, I'm sure this is something that's probably been in medicine for thousands of years.
Literally.
And so they finally decided to get around to looking at it again.
Yeah.
And I think there's been some headway made in the area of depression or what's the other one? PTSD for soldiers. Apparently,
the PTSD is a big one.
They've made some great strides in
You think that
treatment.
22, the current statistic is piece of data, whatever it is that 22 veterans a day commit suicide.
Yeah, every 7
So
minutes.
I mean, this has got to be PTSD. You know, this is not just them.
Yeah.
I mean, this is because they're
Well, yeah, it's harsh. We talked about war a million times, but well, maybe there's some
millions.
Millions. That's
Millions.
right.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe there's some relief in sight for them in Denver.
Yeah. Okay. Now here's the next thing. I love this part. Speaking of war, and this is great in a way. The U.S. has sent an assault ship and missiles to the Mideast because of an Iran threat. The Pentagon announced Friday that it is deploying an amphibious assault ship and a Patriot missile battery to the Middle East to bolster an aircraft carrier force sent to counter alleged threats from Iran. I'm going to go into a little more detail here. I've yellow lined, a whole bunch of this stuff here. But the USS Arlington, which transports Marines, amphibious vehicles, conventional landing craft, and rotary aircraft, and the Patriot missile air defense system, will join the USS Abraham Lincoln, which, of course, being the worst president of the United States, is also a carrier strike group, and a B-52 bomber task force head towards the Gulf after intelligence, I use that in quotes, reports suggested Iran was planning some sort of attack in the region. And I'm thinking to myself, this is, you talk about a massive overreach. I mean, the United States, which has 14 carrier groups, a million planes, bombs, whatever, missiles, intercontinental, whatever it is, has decided that Iran may attack, possibly, maybe, we don't know, we're not sure, might attack some base that's sitting over there in the Middle East, of which we have a whole bunch of them around Iran. Okay, maybe they're going to get upset and attack one. We don't know. None of it. Intelligence seems to suggest this. And so what we've decided to is we're going to deploy enough force, literally, to wipe out the world around Iran. So it was the deployment is in response to indications of heightened Iranian readiness to conduct offensive operations against U.S. forces and our interests. The United States does not seek a conflict with Iran, but we are postured and ready to defend U.S. forces and interests in the region. And it goes on to say that they want to send, with all this force they're sending over there, I mean, we're talking about Armada, we're talking about the invasion of Normandy type thing, and said they do not seek a conflict with Iran, but are postured and ready to defend our U.S. forces. We want to send a clear and unmistakable message to Iran about any attack against the U.S., of course, or its partners. Now, I don't think they're worried about them attacking Delaware or Gainesville, but it's someplace over there. Washington, though, has not elaborated on the alleged threat, drawing criticism that it's overreacting and unnecessarily driving up tensions. An Israeli cabinet minister warned on Sunday of possible direct or proxy Iranian attacks on Israel, and should the standoff between Tehran and Washington escalate. Of course, this is all tending towards a false flag.
That's what you think?
God, my God! When you have a hair trigger of forces like this, and of course, first of all, one of them is the shock and awe. I mean, I don't care who you are. You know, you might say the United States is in debt and all kinds of trouble, but what we sent over there is literally enough to carpet bomb Iran. I don't care. Iran's a big country and everything, but you could turn it, with what we got over there, you could turn it into glass.
Yeah.
And so they're worried because they might attack one of our little bases over there.
Well, no, I mean, obviously not. What this is about protecting trade and shipping and stuff like that. This is the only explanation. What's happened? Look, the United States has expanded its purview of attack beyond imminent threat to the United States,
Right.
and into imposition of trade. That is to say, we consider. If they were to stop an Israeli ship that had goods bound for the United States or something, we would consider that to be something that we should respond with military force to.
Well, you know, because that's one of the things they were talking about. Iran apparently has hinted that they might jam up the Straits of Hormuz.
Right. That's exactly what this is all about. Because there's no possibility that we're going into Iran. Okay, it's not going to happen because we already went into Iraq and Afghanistan, and nobody liked that stuff. We're still in Afghanistan. We're not going to go over there. Like you said, this place is 600,000 square miles, and no.
It's more than that.
No, I looked it up last time.
Okay.
We checked.
All right.
That's twice, 2.5 size Texas or whatever.
Oh, okay, really? I didn't. Okay, good.
Yeah, so.
You get into big numbers like this, like who really knows?
Well,
Over 2.5 times in Texas, that means something.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, but there's no chance that we're invading them. And also, talk about a fight. They would fight like hell. Not
Their own country?
Yeah, it would not be like Iraq or any
like Vietnam again.
Yeah, exactly. It would be hideous.
Pompeo says the U.S. will wait and see what Iran does.
Right.
They said we'll wait to see if Iran follows through with its threats to limit its compliance with the nuclear deal. That's another thing that's coming up apparently.
Right.
So the B-52 bombers deployed are clear and unmistakable message. We talked about that. 4 B-52 bombers. This is unbelievable.
Well, you show force. You show a bunch of cards. You show aces. Why not?
You show damn surely at least that. A Defense Department official told CBS News earlier this week that the U.S. has detected, quote, preparations for a possible attack.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, we'll see. I think it's more likely that we would intervene in Venezuela during the current situation.
I wouldn't doubt that either. I mean,
Yeah,
the fact, but again, almost all of this stuff, and people are I'm gonna hit this all. People get me all over this all the time about you're denigrating the United States, blah blah blah. But one of the things that we've been famous for, and we're not only alone in this, is the false flag business. I mean, for our history has been a lot of false flags, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see another one.
Yeah, well, you don't even really need one these days. You just kind of say, I mean, like they have weapons of mass destruction, and they didn't even say that during the Iraq War. If you go back and look at all the news reports, what they said over and over and over again was, the president knows something that you don't know.
Right.
And of course, the only implication is that they're weapons of mass destruction. That's the only inference you can draw from that statement.
Well,
he knows something you don't know? Oh, well, what could that be?
Well, now before that war broke out, didn't they send what's his name up there into the UN to make the case for war?
Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's basically what he said.
Okay.
He said a couple. He went a little bit further. He said something like they have implementations, or he made some general categorization of their stuff. But
I'd forgotten.
That was he got put out there. He got hung out to dry.
Well, he sure did.
But
I tell you the truth, I'm still worried about the false flag.
Okay.
It's a hair trigger. To me, it's kind of like the assassination of the Archduke.
Right.
Which was a nothing burger, and suddenly we're in World War I.
Right.
I mean, when you have to come to the aid, quote unquote, of your buddies. I mean, same thing. World War II was the same thing. Was Poland.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly there was the hair trigger.
The thing is, Iran is struggling. They are scraping to stay alive, basically. They've been in decline because of our
sanctions.
Exactly. And also because of the Sunni onslaught. We've talked about they're the only Shias in the area, and the Sunni, they're surrounded by Sunnis. And so it's, they do not need a gigantic war. No way. They need trade on all
but
fronts.
again, when you say that, one of the things is when your home is threatened, sometimes you'll get the people up from the swamp to fight it. I mean, I know in this country, if they were to come over the borders,
they face too much. The problem is Israel is like, there's a guy sitting there doing this with his fingers around the button over in Israel, like, should I hit it? And they're all pointed at Iran, so it would be a wipeout. So I don't see anything big coming.
well, okay.
I think they'll back down. Go ahead.
Nothing.
Oh, I was going to say this dovetails into the trade situation as well.
Oh, the trade situation. Which one is this?
Well, what's been happening in the last few days is Trump's trade wars, the tariff situation.
God, yeah.
But what's interesting is everybody keeps misinterpreting it, his actions.
Oh yeah, how?
Well, I see Peter Schiff and Shapiro, and they're taking Trump's statements literally.
Exactly. They've always done that.
It's so dumb. It's like they don't understand negotiations at all.
No, they don't.
You don't go over there and say, we really don't want to have these tariffs on our people, and our people pay these tariffs, and they're horrible for us, but we have to do it if we're going to force you into something. Like, that's like the dumbest negotiating strategy ever. You go over there and you say, these negotiations are going great. The Chinese people are paying for this. We may leave these tariffs in place forever. That's the kind of stuff that you say out there. You get them to believe that.
That's what he said.
It's exactly what he's saying. He's totally playing them, and I can't believe that our intelligence people, or even,
After all the intelligence we've seen so far.
well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the intellectual dark web people. I'm talking about the people I watch on YouTube are saying, why is Trump saying tariffs are a good thing? I'm like, he has to. That's the whole point. You have to convince them that you are all in. You can't, it's like poker. You can't be like, well, I got a crappy hand, but I'm going to play with you anyway. No, you show aces. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's doing it perfectly in terms of that. I don't know. Now, this is assuming that if he gets his way, that is, if the Chinese give him some concessions, whether in trade reduction, tariff reduction, or intellectual property, sort of more adherence to our laws, if they give him concessions and he lowers our tariffs again, then that'll be the win. That's how we'll know. And I think that will happen within a year or less if he gets his way, if he's able to play hard like this. But this is exactly the same thing as when he says, I love dictator X. You don't go over there and say, I hate you, Mr. Dictator. Hey, let's negotiate. Like, that's the dumbest thing ever. You would never say, well, I know what you said, but my intelligence people are against you, so I'm siding with my people. By the way, hey, let's get along. No, you've blown the rapport at that point. So I can't understand why more people don't see that this is just tactics. I mean...
Well, I think regular people do see it. That's why they're showing up for his rallies in the thousands and thousands of numbers.
I guess.
It's the people that are in charge of our different agencies that act like they don't understand anything about human nature.
It's weird.
Well, I think there's still a coup mentality.
Yeah.
In the agencies, because they're still bristling over the loss that was and the upheaval that is occurring, and they've tried the coup business, and I think a lot of people are still hanging on. I mean, there are still people that are adamant that there was collusion.
Yeah.
In spite of everything you could ever see. I mean, just
yeah. And to those people, I just want to say, what has Trump done for Putin lately?
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Worst puppet ever.
The worst puppet. He's the worst puppet ever.
Seriously, I mean, if Putin put him in there, you would think he would have done something for Putin before the investigation came to a head.
Right.
And he theoretically could have been thrown out of office or
You
arrested.
have to put us back up. We're not on anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that. I got too many jobs.
Too many jobs, that's right. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
to another thing entirely, which I thought kind of interesting. David Beckham was banned from driving for 6 months after using a phone behind the wheel. Now, you know,
Yes.
we've had a lot of this in this country where
Yes.
the distractions and the phone. And of course, nowadays, I mean, I don't know of any car for the last, I don't know how many years, for what, the last almost 10 years now, that doesn't come with Bluetooth.
Right.
And where your phone automatically links up, and so it's hands-free. I mean, so I have a 2012 car, for God's sakes, that has all the buttons on your steering wheel. You go down and you don't have to. The most distraction you have is when you drive through and have a McDonald's or a Coke or something. I mean, that's the last thing you need is to spill, and
Yeah.
suddenly crash city. So anyway.
Well, from a scientific perspective, the worst distraction is fatigue. And
okay.
people are tired, they get in accidents. And so the hideous thing about this story is that they continue to erode the requirements of any type of malicious intent. So here's a situation where 15 years ago, this crime that David Beckham committed wasn't even conceived of.
Right.
I mean, before cell phones,
But even with
cell phone, right?
But when they were the brick,
Exactly.
and you pick up and you'd ring and you had to dial the number.
Exactly.
Nobody was. Yeah, right.
Exactly. But now, here's what they'll do. They'll bootstrap this into a DUI type situation, so that if David Beckham gets into an accident and the cell phone company reports that his phone was activated during that time, they'll charge him with murder if somebody dies.
Wow.
And that's what they're starting to do. We talked about this truck driver
Yeah.
who's facing 40 counts, 40 criminal counts for driving his truck, and homicide and all kinds of stuff. And they're going to put him away for years. And it's just a guy driving a truck who got in an accident. And so... I mean,
Was he tired or what? Do we know? Do we care?
we don't know yet. I mean,
In other words, this is not a terrorist act.
no, definitely not,
No.
and no intent. They said they have found no evidence of any bad intent, no drugs or alcohol, and his license was fine and everything. I mean, they can't find anything wrong with the situation
Put him
except
away.
that people died. Well, exactly, and so they're doing what they call this transferred your intent. Like, I intended to eat an apple, but we transferred your intents over to eating a pizza. So you ate the pizza. I mean, no, I ate an apple. What are you talking
Well,
about?
what's interesting about this particular one is, you know how he was caught? He was spotted by a bystander looking down at his crotch, apparently where the phone was.
Right.
And so the bystander ratted him out.
Yeah, thanks a lot, dude.
I mean, geez, David Beckham. So he was fine. 6 months driving. No more whatever it is. I mean, I suppose he could hire.
he can get a
a
chauffeur.
Uber. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Okay, moving along to something we've just talked about, but I don't know. This is kind of out of order. The U.S. seized a sanctions-busting North Korean ship in an escalation of tensions hours after Kim Jong-un unleashes more missiles, and Trump says the dictator is not ready to negotiate. The Trump administration says it seized a North Korean cargo ship that U.S. officials say was used to transport coal in violation of international sanctions. So I'm trying to think. This is. I mean, I don't know what the sanctions are, but. Now he said, as you say, this is what his negotiate. Oh, you don't want to negotiate anymore, so we're taking your ship. This is part of the sanctions. So the ship was detained by Indonesia last month with 24 members aboard, and the U.S. officials say payments for maintenance and equipment for the ship were made unwittingly in American dollars through U.S. banks. But I mean, this is just another one of those things. It seems to me that the sanctions, they're seizing a ship, and Indonesia seizes the ship, and you know what? I'm trying to think who's harmed here, except the guy that owns the boat.
Well, as you are pointing out, and what they're saying, this is part of the trade sanctions.
Right.
If we don't want North Korea, or we're preventing them from trading in certain places.
Yeah.
And so they
The
tried
article
to
didn't say
skirt the
whose
rules.
coal it was or anything, but
Right.
this maybe that shouldn't
Well,
have been.
obviously, Trump's relationship with Rocket Man has deteriorated a bit. He needs to send over some basketball players ASAP.
Yeah.
To shore things up a bit. I would say.
Well, and of course, Kim Jong, whatever it is, he of course has played a little bit of a card also by running over to meet with Putin.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
and
you know.
firing another couple missiles
Yeah,
off.
5 couple. Now these are little short-range bloopy ones, but still
Sure,
doesn't
hey,
matter.
man.
And they said, well, those missiles don't violate whatever they're supposed to be. Apparently, they're 100 miles or something.
Okay.
So, but it's like a toy rocket. Rocket Man.
Estes.
That's right. Okay, let me just see here if I got a couple of things right in order here. Yeah. Carrie Katona. I don't know who this is exactly. She's apparently a British actress. She pleads guilty to failing to send her child to school. Now this is coming. This is also, we have this here in the United States, but this is an egregious example of it. And of course, it's a famous person. 38-year-old previously had denied the charge at Brighton and Hove Magistrates Court, whatever. However, this morning, a guilty plea was entered on her behalf. Carrie was not in attendance in the Brighton Magistrates. She was fined £875 and a 500, well, a whole bunch of money, and a £50 victim surcharge after her child missed 45 days of school. This Gareth Jones, who was prosecuting on behalf of the Education Authority, said she met with the victims. Right, Miss Katona met with the council and discussed they met and discussed with her the importance of her child attending the school. Unfortunately, attendance got worse and went down to 48%. We wanted to make it clear how important it is that the child attends school. And of course, this is one of those things you have to understand. When you understand that school is basically an indoctrination factory, they can't have somebody running loose like this and actually not getting the required propaganda each day in school. And so, I mean, this is here. You know, truancy. One of the things I've always said about our education system is if you don't send your kid to school here, I think they only can, if they miss like 10 days, they send a truant officer and a sheriff's deputy over to your house. And actually, your children can be taken away for malfeasance or whatever it is, child abuse. You can be arrested and taken to jail and deprived of your children, and this for not sending your kids to school. And I'm wondering if school is so valuable, if it's such a genius thing to do, does it really have to be enforced with a gun? Do you have to threaten somebody with jail time in order to send your kid to school?
So she didn't want to do homeschooling or anything like that, huh?
Apparently not. I mean, we don't know if she was or wasn't, but apparently again, there are places, I think Germany is one of them, where you're not allowed to homeschool. And this may be the case in England. This is English, but I was just transferring this into this country, where we also have, of course, most of the school systems are, as you know, they're county by county in this country. It's not nationwide. There are a lot of nationwide laws, but county by county are the ones that decide how to do this stuff. But I'm one of these people that one of these days we'll sit down and have a big talk to about the tragedy of the school system. And this is just
I don't know. What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, what do you think? Right. Yeah, exactly.
In this country we have lots of options. You can do a lot. You can do homeschooling. You can do charter or whatever. You know, you can send your kid to private school still.
You have to pay twice.
Right. I didn't say it was easy.
No.
But there are some options that you can do. But you're right. If you forego all those options, they'll treat you like a criminal.
Well, not only that, even if you do homeschooling but you don't register.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Then these people literally. Now I could be correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe if you just send them a note that says I'm homeschooling, that they have the right to literally come to your front door and say we want to check.
Oh yeah, no, there's a huge process, a verification process. You have to
really?
Register the materials and all that kind of stuff.
No kid, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you have to get checked, all the boxes checked.
Yeah.
So.
Lest you go to jail. Yeah.
But we don't know why she wasn't sending the kid to school.
The article actually did say, and a lot of it had to do with the fact she's an actress.
Did you not read it? Is that what?
Yeah, right. No, what happened was she was out of town a lot or something, and maybe I think she took her kid with her.
Yeah. Well, a lot of actors, especially child actors, have tutors on set. And
right.
The union here has very strict rules.
Oh yeah, I know about that. Right.
About,
yeah.
I don't know
what the whole story was, but the bottom line is if you don't send your kid one way or another to an approved, government-approved school, you get clapped in irons.
Interesting.
And fined. Children now, of course, what happens is children now face fines and arrests. We've talked about this kind of thing before. If they don't have a permit to cut grass in the summertime.
Oh yeah. Now where is this?
This is in Gardendale, Alabama. In Gardendale, a regular summer rite for passage for motivated teenagers, and I did this. I'll never forget this.
No,
I did it totally. I'll never forget this. My Aunt Grace, she was going on. They took a month down at the beach, and of course, this is up in Maryland, and the grass grows like daily. And so she hired me for back then like $10 a week or a month or whatever. Well, yeah, right. Big money for me, big money, and to go out and cut her 1 acre lawn.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, no, it's unbelievable. And well, the beauty of
And you had one of those push mowers with the blades?
I had a push mower. Well, the blade was this way.
Oh, okay.
Number one, and at that time I didn't realize how important it was to keep the blade sharp. And of course, in order to start it, you had to pull the string.
Oh, you had a motor.
Yeah, I had a motor. Oh, okay. You were lucky.
Yeah,
you had a motor. Well, not only that, the other great thing about it was up in Maryland at the time, what lived in the grass were gnats.
Oh, fun.
Gnats. I mean, we're talking about bugs this big in storms, and of course they would get in your eyes. Oh, and I'll tell and of course I'm only this tall.
The eyes,
I'm only this tall, so I'm walking through waves, and it's like the love bugs here that we're having right now. Only these are smaller, and they get in your eye, and I'm
your papers, please.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, a regular summer right. So anyway. Extra spending money has always been cutting in the neighbor's grass. However, teens in Gardendale, Alabama, and many other cities across the United States are about to get a rude lesson in how government overregulation stifles personal and financial growth. Local officials...
Hey, this is for the safety of the grass. I'm thinking they got to check out, probably got to get your mower registered. Checked out.
Right. Like you have a little, you have a sticker on your boat.
Right.
Make sure it's ready, and the mower, and in some places you have to have a sticker on your bicycle.
Is that right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of places, whatever it is. Anyway, reportedly warned area teens that without a business license issued by the city, which costs $110.
Holy crap!
Wait a minute, and in violation of city ordinance, thus violating the law if they attempt to cut grass without a license.
How did they come up with $110?
How did they come up with $50 here for parking cars on my own lawn?
Well, yeah, but okay, yeah. Well, don't switch the subject. We're on it.
Yeah, but they did this for the lemonade. The lemonade was $300.
Switching the subject again. $110. That's just insane. That's like 5 lawns.
Well,
right.
Well, no. They said apparently these days you get about $30 for a lawn.
Oh, okay.
So it's 3.5 lawns.
Right.
Depending on the size of the lawn, I know that. But like you say, as you say, you're sitting around in the commission and in the lawn commissar's office.
That's
or whatever
right.
it is. Well, I wonder how much we're supposed to charge for this ticket to cut the lawns, and we need to write out. You have to carry this ticket with you and wear it on your person all the time. You have
a badge.
A badge. It's one of these hanging badges, like you wear in the hospital.
Lanyard.
And of course it's stamped, it's approved, it's signed by the commissar.
Right.
And that way, and it has to be. So in other words, if these people happen to drive by, they need to make sure they can see the tag.
Right. Prominently displayed.
Prominently displayed on your person.
That's right.
And non-transferable.
Right.
Non-transferable.
And your mower.
That's right. And your mower. So it's interesting that this is a private agreement, between, you walk up, hi, Mr. Jones, I've got my mower here and I'd like to cut your lawn.
Where's your permit, kid?
Yeah, where's your permit, kid? Get out!
That's right. Are you bonded and licensed?
And licensed, that's right. Where's your insurance in case you cut a foot off or something?
That's right.
So but it's interesting. This is one of those things that the government always has to get their cut.
Well, we've talked about the pendulum of licensing, and what I keep saying is, I think we're right at the turning point. It's swung right up to the top, and here we are, and we're doing kids and lemonade stands and lawnmower licenses, palm readers, fortune tellers, and now
we're not going to give you the license, but you knew that.
That's right, but you already knew that. That's right, and so hopefully we will see the swing back in the other direction.
Once they get their hands on money, one of the things that's interesting, the mayor went to this. I would love to have something on our books that gave more favorable response to that student out there cutting the grass.
Jesus.
And see if there's maybe a temporary license during the summer months that targets teenagers, says
Like the mayor has nothing better to do than worry about
well,
kids
only that, the
cutting
fact
lawns.
is, they still believe the government should manage this.
Right.
No, well, we understand.
Nobody got in and said, "What the hell are y'all doing?"
Yeah, we understand this may seem egregious,
Right.
but here's what we're going to do. We'll tone it down.
That's
you still
right.
have to get your license.
Right.
It might not be $110. It
right.
might only be $109 or whatever. But I mean, the fact is, they still want government regulation, no matter what.
I wonder if there's an age limit, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, kid, you're only 11."
Right. That would be
Yeah,
another thing.
that's
Dangerous,
right.
you know. Yeah, there could be all kinds
I mean,
of
Ben
stuff.
Franklin only crossed the country when he was 11, went to Philadelphia and became a printer's assistant.
You mean cross the ocean?
Well, no, I think he, no, I think he left where he was and went to a different city.
Oh,
and
yeah, right.
Became a
He may have. Yeah,
printer's
right. But
apprentice.
that wasn't across the country, but yeah.
Right,
There wasn't
well, it
any
was a country at that
back
time.
Yeah, it wasn't any.
It was like all the way across the colony.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm leaving. Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway, it's just interesting that the mayor still believes, no matter what, that the government has a place in this transaction, in a mow the lawn transaction.
Unbelievable.
It is.
I wonder what their revenue take is on
Well,
that.
that's the other thing. Here, of course, what we
They
have.
made $40.
Yeah, right. Well, here, you think about it. I mean, I don't know how big Garbondale is, but
Right.
like you said, maybe if there's 100 kids,
Right.
okay, that's $4,000 out of their budget of millions.
Right.
Okay, same thing
You're
here.
going to squeeze the 10-year-olds.
Squeeze the 10-year-old.
$4 grand.
We'll show them what government is capable
That's
of,
right.
by God. You know, hey, kid, you know,
That's right.
you're sitting there. I mean, seriously, when you see a regular, normal, run-of-the-mill policeman, I'm not talking about Barney Fife or anybody, but I'm talking about just a regular, and you look at their belt, I mean, they're, other than the,
It's a Batman
I
bill.
mean, really, yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. So it's just fascinating to me to think that this guy has no shame. The mayor has no. This is
They are
perfect.
all operating under the auspices that regulation is good, licensing is protective. This is all just what has to happen. If you have any legitimate business at all, the government has to have their
Well,
hands
now,
in it.
as you mentioned though, which is interesting to continue on about this. It's when you realize that they're going to change the rule. Right now, it's just if you want to mow lawns, 110. I don't know exactly. If you want to mow lawns, $110. Okay, we're going to change it. So we're going to write another 40-page rule, age limit. You know, no discrimination for whether you're LGBTQ or
Right,
Muslim. You know, you have to be a certain height. And
Gotta wear shoes.
Gotta wear shoes. Have insurance. I mean,
Right.
oh, blah blah blah. You know,
Bug spray.
bug spray. Oh, not the wrong kind though.
Approved bug spray.
Approved bug spray.
Right.
That's right. So anyway, I just love this. So now on to Venezuela.
Aha!
Maduro is providing. Here's another one of these false flag things. We're talking about the possibility of U.S. intervention in Venezuela. Maduro. Here's the raison d'etre. Maduro is providing a safe haven for Iranian terrorists in the West, says Pence. The Iranian terrorists now are commuting from over there across the ocean and coming up and going to Venezuela.
That's right.
And now
Into
they're
a
being
strategic
harbored.
location.
Well, the other thing that's kind of interesting is, of course, they speak whatever they speak, Arabic or what do they speak?
Farsi.
Farsi, right. And I don't know how they're going to communicate very well with the Venezuelans, but I guess they're all going to learn each other's language and then, you know, kumbaya to attack the United States. But anyway, Venezuelan strongman Maduro is partnering with Iran.
You know, Iran's entire GDP is like the size of Florida. You know, it's like 1.5 T.
So Vice President Mike Pence warned against this horrible thing. Maduro, of course, denies it. Says that denies that Hezbollah, a preeminent terrorist subsidiary of Iran, has a presence. But they said they found out that apparently top diplomats from Venezuela went over there and visited somebody. They think top people. Well, this was kind of like when Papadopoulos was supposed to have gone to Chechnya or something.
Right, yeah.
You know, so apparently that's the same kind of thing. I don't know. But I think that's, Pence, of course, comes out and says Venezuela is a failed state. Okay, fine. And as history teaches, failed states know no boundaries. Drug traffickers, criminal gangs, terrorist groups seeking to destabilize the region and profit from the misery of the Venezuelan people every day.
They're going to sell food.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So I don't. Maybe the Iranians are going to bring food over. I don't know.
Yeah.
So now the Iranians and the Russians are sitting over in Venezuela, and we should be so scared.
That's right.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
One of the last things I've got here, let me just see here if I got, well, I don't know, I should probably skip that.
Mrs. Jimmy, do you have anything you want to bring up?
No, but I saw the Trump rally Wednesday night.
Oh, you did? How did it go?
It was pretty good, but I don't know how those people stood in that heat.
Oh, this was the one in
5
Panama
hours.
City.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Panama City,
At least
right.
5 hours from the start to
They're
the
used to
finish.
it.
Oh my goodness, no place to sit down. It was just at a, what was it? There was a bleacher behind where the president spoke, but the rest of people were just standing all of that time. And it was a rather impromptu speech, and it was a rally, and it wasn't impromptu, but I don't think a lot of people knew about it ahead of time because they didn't have time to set it up with chairs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or no shade and no nothing, but no refreshments or anything like that. But Rick Scott spoke, and DeSantis spoke, and a number of other politicians from the group spoke, and Trump was visibly happy.
Yeah? Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
We have another little Elizabeth Warren update.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is her latest crusade,
Right.
a sweeping plan to confront the opioid crisis. Senator Elizabeth Warren teamed up with Elijah Cummings on Wednesday to announce the CARE Act, C-A-R-E, a $100 billion plan to fight the opioid crisis. As part of her larger push for a more fair economy, in a blog post announcing the move. The ongoing opioid crisis is about health care, but it's more than that. It's about money and power in America. If the CARE Act becomes law, every single person would get the care they need.
Oh, God, yeah.
Should we pass it in? Not in 2 years, but right away. She described opiates as a national public health crisis of great magnitude, just like HIV and AIDS. And so we're going to have
I wonder if our soldiers are still guarding the poppy fields over in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got the pictures. I had that one picture of you up in front of the soldier.
Oh, yes.
Our guy guarding the poppy fields and the reason we did that is because we didn't want the Taliban to use them, and we were giving them to the other guys. We were protecting them for the
good guys.
Right, the good
heroin as opposed to bad heroin.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Now, one thing I'll say about the opioid epidemic thing that's a positive thing, and that is I believe they have just decriminalized one of the emergency treatments for opioid overdose, such that the average person can keep the dose like in their car or at their house and at the school. So if there's an accidental overdose or some sort of
it's kind of like an EpiPen.
Yes.
Okay. Oh wow, that's right. I did hear about that.
From what I understand, that is now available and should help. There was
that goes on the black market.
Well, that's the whole thing. It was on the black market. I mean, because it was illegal. You had to have like an addiction first to get the cure or something.
Okay.
And so now in whatever area that they decriminalized it, they made it. They had a 30% drop in.
Yes,
deaths.
I saw that. Right. So it's apparently some chemical they put together that stops the overdose from killing you. Yeah?
Right. And now I will say this. I believe that this has come into play because of a crafty thing that drug dealers have been doing. What they do, drug dealers of like fentanyl will take their stash and they'll coat it on the outside with the drug and with a DMSO absorption chemical, so that if you touch it, you get in an immediate dose of the stuff. And what happened is it was a defense technique that the drug dealers would use against raids. The police would come in, touch their stuff, and start to trip out, and actually overdose and die sometimes. So the cops started carrying the instant stuff and also gloves and everything else, so that when they do a raid, they can they won't die, basically. And so I guess that's helped with the proliferation of this stuff.
I guess.
Excuse me,
Sure.
but I have to leave.
Okay.
But thank you for letting me join you today. And,
Well, thanks for showing up.
I
Yeah.
hope everybody has a
See-
nice day, and
See if you can duck under this and.
Here, we can move it around real quick.
I think probably I have to move it, Russ.
Yeah, it just swings.
Okay, thank you. Bye, have fun.
Yes.
You're doing really well, I agree.
Thank you,
no
Mommy.
bias. No bias
Keep
there.
going, keep
Uh-huh.
going.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. The one little piece of news that I did pick up was that the F-35 is one tough dogfighter. A dogfight did not go well for the F-35, which couldn't accelerate or turn fast enough to keep up with an F-16. Apparently they were doing some dogfights and stuff like that. But now, a Norwegian test pilot has indirectly refuted the test pilot in a blog post for the Norwegian Defense Ministry. Norway is buying 52 F-35s at a cost, big billions of dollars, to replace their 1980s Vigid. I'm thinking, Norway? I mean, 52? Norway?
Well,
What are they worried about, invasion from Sweden? I mean, 52 F-35s? I mean, this is Norway.
Yeah. They're going to patrol the slopes.
I'm just sitting there thinking, Norway? You know, how did our guys who made the F-35s get the Norwegians to pony up billions
Right.
for all these? I mean, what?
You're in danger.
I guess from what, the Swedes?
don't-
We're afraid that the Danes are going to come across the thing
That's
there,
right, that's
attack
right.
Oslo.
That's right, the Viking. The other
What are they
Viking.
going to? What they probably need to do is surround Oslo with the Patriot missiles or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just the Iron Shield they have in Israel. I'm sitting there
I
thinking.
don't know. Is Norway a NATO country?
I'm guessing it is. Yes.
I would think so. And
I
if
don't
they-
think that Sweden is.
Uh,
Sweden was neutral during the Second World War.
Yeah, that's
But
why I was asking. 'Cause I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
think
Norway. No,
the
I'm sure it must be. Yeah.
You know, if they are, then it makes sense that they would. Well, here's why. We've been putting a lot of pressure on our NATO allies to pony
up, right.
Exactly.
But-
so this is just a hey, okay, here we go. We'll take 50.
Okay, yeah, all right, that makes sense. I hadn't thought about it. Yeah, right, yeah, because if the Ruskies attack, you got your own planes to fight.
That's
them on.
right. That's
Okay.
right. Oh, and also, our guys will be there to pilot or help out or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But at least we're just getting them to do their
Okay, well, all right, all right.
2%.
Let's see. There's another thing there. Real quick, let me just run up here and see if I can get some crazy things here just out of the way. Microsoft, that could be fake news. The federal judge here in Florida has ordered bilingual ballots for 32 Florida counties. There's 67 counties here in Florida.
Just bilingual?
Yeah, just bilingual. Well, it's interesting. Up until now, what we've had are the sample ballots that get sent out before every election. You get two, one in Spanish and one in. So the sample ballot. And I remember it was really kind of interesting. I had forgotten or lost my English ballot but during the last election, and the only one I could find was my Spanish ballot that I had to check. Had to get my dictionary out and check it all before I went down to vote, so I wouldn't stand in line all day like that. But what they don't like is the fact that when you go into the little booth there, that it's all in English. And apparently the judges said that 32 counties that have more than 1 or 2 or 5% Espanol speaking people,
Yeah.
that they have to have the actual ballot there.
Right.
That you do in both languages.
Yeah.
And of course, as I say, that our guys here, local guys here, and especially some of the counties that are only very minimally bilingual, have said, look, we send out the sample ballots ahead of time. That's all we need. We don't have to do the whole damn, the whole thing every time.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, I mean, our problem is that we have about 5 counties in this Florida, in the state that are
Out of 67.
Majority Hispanic speaking.
Well, not majority.
Yeah, I would say.
Really?
I mean, yeah, Miami. You've got Osceola. Full of Puerto Rican people, and there's several different counties in this state, and there are several down there. I mean, if you go to Miami, it's 70% Hispanic.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an international city basically.
Yeah, I know.
But My thought is, hey man, too bad. I wouldn't have. It's impossible to accommodate all the different language speakers.
Boy, and that's the truth. Not only that, one of the things that is kind of interesting, as we've noticed, without going into great detail about this, there are several different variations of Spanish.
I don't know.
When I was learning Spanish, they said there's certain words: Cuban, Mexican, South American, Spanish.
No, I call BS on that.
Okay.
No, shoot, you can practically understand Portuguese if you speak Spanish. And
let's not get carried away. Not moi. I don't speak Spanish. I learned a little bit. I can get by. But my point is this. This is another thing that, and I'm going to get flack for this. Look, you're here in the United States. It's Inglés.
Well, yeah, and as I've said before, the first generation people don't usually learn perfect English, but their kids do. So it's a negligible imposition. And if there's one place where you got to learn the language, it's in the official communications.
Right.
Because it's impossible to have official communications in 47 different languages.
Right. Well, and of course, somebody was telling me this is a real problem in California.
Yeah. Well,
in the LA school system, somebody was telling me
200 languages.
200 different.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And even here, we've got a fairly good-sized Chinese people here in Florida. And around, a lot of different places. There are more Chinese restaurants than there are, I don't know, McDonald's or something. Lots of them. So anyway, they ordered the bilingual. But as I say, the deal is, as far as I'm concerned, the sample ballot should be plenty.
Yeah.
And
you can figure it out.
And the other thing, of course, there is another little problem with the bilingual ballot. Of course, the ballot in general. We have ballot initiatives here that can run literally to pages.
Yeah.
New constitutional amendments that might be 1,000 words long.
Well,
and they have to summarize it in 75 words.
Right.
And then on the sign, it'll say vote no on 2.
Right. Well, but there's no way around that, unfortunately, because laws are incredibly complicated. When you get into the drafting of a piece of legislation, it has to cover so many different bases and not cover you can't impose in different places. It's very complicated. And so when you're talking about a ballot initiative, you're actually talking about passing a piece of legislation.
Right.
And there's just no way that the average person can understand all the complexities there.
Well, it's interesting because what we have had here in Florida, we've had several suits when a ballot initiative covered more than one item.
Yeah, or didn't effectively describe the. Yeah, no, I've seen both of those.
Literally, they said, "Wait a minute, there's 2 things in this ballot initiative," and the courts have thrown it out. Said, "No, you're only allowed to do one."
Yeah, there's like I say, there's not much way around that. All you can do is be on notice. You're on notice if you see a sign that says, "Look, there's an amendment number 2." Go read it. Go figure out what it is. Talk to somebody who understands.
And there's plenty of time. I mean, this stuff,
right.
One of the things they're trying to do now on some of this stuff is they're already prepping up in some instances for the 2020 business.
Well, sure, and that's why I advocate for a month of voting. I think it would give people a lot of opportunity and initiative to discuss all the different.
I say do it.
People be doing
one day only. One day only.
You got 1 hour.
You got 1 hour. You get out there. You do it that day. Screw it. If you don't know, you do in vote. Get out.
Right.
That's the way. In my day, you had 1 day. I'm sorry, and
right.
it was a mechanical thing, and you had to pull this lever down like this.
If you're not strong enough, you don't get to vote.
That's it. By God, I'll tell you. That's what it was like in the old. And we had to walk in snow uphill both ways.
That's right.
So let's see. Then we had the Northern California. Done. Here's another thing of overreach, and then I'm done.
Okay.
Judge ordered Northern California couple this week to pay nearly $600,000 for uprooting a 200-year-old oak tree from their property that was protected under a conservation easement. So what they did is it was almost 200 years, 180-year-old oak tree. And I don't know how long they last, but apparently this was pretty big. Yeah. And what they did is they spent a ton of money to uproot it to preserve the roots and everything.
Yeah.
Apparently did not do well. Oak trees.
And now what they did is they moved it to their other property.
Right, but it died.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But the point is they tried to.
They definitely did. Well, one of the things here in our town, of course, if you want to move something like that, you have to get a permit.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of.
So I don't know if these guys got a permit or not, but it doesn't matter. They moved it. They probably didn't, but they get a permit. But they moved it. It died. And so the judge had ordered $600,000 fine. Pricey.
Can you
And
imagine?
so they, and a
For the
Dunedin
tree
man
in your yard.
here in Florida, Dunedin man fined $30,000 for tall grass.
Jesus.
Now the city is foreclosing on his house.
Wow.
The city of Dunedin's code enforcement board moved to foreclose on Frickin, the guy's name is Ficken, Tuesday because he failed to pay nearly $30,000 in code violations he accrued last year. The city fined $500 per day over the summer because his grass grew longer than 10 inches. Dunedin has cracked down on code violations in recent years. According to an analysis, the city collected almost $1.3 million in code enforcement violations last year, up from $34,000 10 years before.
Jesus.
So it's not about the money.
Right.
It's only about, you can't have your grass. So and one of the reasons they did this was the codes enforcement fellow pointed to records that showed Ficken had a history of code violations up in Clearwater. And which is different up the road or whatever from Dunedin, or down the road, I guess, from Dunedin. But $30,000 for ton. Now what happened is he had the same kind of thing that the girl had with the student thing. Is that he had a sick mother in North Carolina, and he was in and out of town a lot. And he, at one point he went and got a lawnmower, he mowed it and so forth. But then it grew back as it does. But 10 inches was the limit. And they have you can't have your lawn looking bad. And of course, one of the things that people say is, well, why didn't the city, instead of doing that $500 a day, why didn't they just get the city mowing people to go out there and mow the lawn? Well,
take 1/10 of one day's charge.
Well, the problem is that you can't trespass on somebody's private property like that.
Sure, you can. You have an easement.
That's right. Well, that's right. That's one thing. I suppose you can pass the law that says, if you don't cut your lawn, we're going to do it for you.
Do it.
Well, I do know this. Now, what's interesting about this, when you talk about code violations here, one of the things that we have a lot are abandoned cars.
Well,
and people come by and they say and even if it's in your backyard, they will come back and they will say you need to move your abandoned car.
It's even worse than that. You can have a perfectly good running, perfect car in your front yard, parked in the driveway, and if your tag is expired, it can be deemed an abandoned car by your homeowner association, and you can be fined for leaving it out there. That actually happened to me. Yeah, I know. We had a nice like a '76 Stingray Corvette sitting in our driveway.
Yeah.
And they came by and stuck an abandoned car fine citation on it.
Now the question is, I wonder if the car had been turned around.
Well, right, and here's the thing. I think that the tag had been renewed, but the sticker just wasn't on it. So it was even worse than that. It was, here they were calling out this abandoned car. No.
Interesting you should say that, because one of the things that I used to do was to renew my tag every year, but I wouldn't put the sticker on the thing, and I would see how long it would take before I got stopped. And finally, I would get stopped. We have to do it every year, and I remember one year it took like 8 or 10 months before I got stopped. But they phone in, and they say, okay, you're okay, but you're really, and so I would walk out of the glove compartment, put the sticker on, no problem. And another time they caught me after only 1 month. Well, interesting, they haven't caught me yet. For this year, I still got what do I have? I have a 2018 on there, I think. And
I just accidentally drove my car for an entire year without getting, because I thought I renewed for 2 years. And so when I went back in to renew, they said, oh, you're out of date a year.
And they fine you for that.
Well, they were cool about it. They asked me, they said, have you been driving the car? But I fessed up and said, yeah.
Well, it is interesting that that they, I guess anymore it's not so much, because when they're following you and they see you're out,
they can call it in.
They call it in and they say, screw it, he's paid. You paid your money.
Right.
And that actually, because when the one cop did stop me, this is, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, he stopped me. He says, I could issue a ticket. And I said, yeah, well, and he didn't.
Right.
But I think that nowadays they said, look, don't bother.
I hope so. I keep waiting for the days that our highwaymen will finally calm down a bit and quit stopping people for craziness. And
it'll be interesting to see when we get our self-driving cars.
Well, right. It'll be a lot better. I can't wait, and because I think it's just going to make a huge difference in the way that enforcement's done on the roads.
All right, well, I'm done with the major things
Okay, well, let me see.
because we're just about over
Yep,
time.
we
here.
are. I just got a couple of quick updates here, real quick. I talked about a Florida man who was arrested for an obscene bumper sticker.
Yes, I saw that. I saw it. It was pretty obscene.
Well, in a way, it actually had a perfectly normal interpretation.
Which one was this?
This was the bumper sticker said "I eat ass,"
Right. Okay. Yeah.
and his contention was ass meant donkey.
Okay. Yeah. Well, good luck.
Well, here's the thing. It's a reasonable hypothesis consistent with innocence, which means you get the benefit of the doubt, which means you can't be convicted of that.
Okay. So what happened?
So they eventually dropped the charges the next day,
Okay.
and now he's suing them.
Okay.
So good for him.
Yeah.
My thought, and of course they didn't actually arrest him for the sticker. They arrested him for resisting arrest.
This always gets me.
I know. I've been talking about it for a long time.
No, this is so amazing.
You shouldn't be
because
able to arrest somebody for resisting if there's no underlying crime.
That's right.
But we still have that in our laws now, and it goes back to the days when we had a king, and the kings. If you were offending the king, it didn't matter as far as he was concerned. So that's why it's so strict. It's like. It's just incredible.
Which reminds me, by the way, I finished my Shogun, and if you offended the rulers and the Shogun rulers,
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't waste any time.
no.
Okay, we talked about Venezuela real quick. I forgot to mention Guaido's deputy was arrested.
Okay.
I don't know what deputy means.
I know, but they are going after apparently his henchmen or
Right,
whatever, his
exactly.
supporters. Yeah.
So
they're-
we'll see. Maduro's mounting a counterattack. Chelsea Manning was released.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
she got out.
Now this is not Bill Clinton's daughter.
Yeah, no.
Okay, Chelsea Manning.
Yeah,
right?
this is Bradley Manning.
Bradley Manning.
Who transed over to Chelsea, and she was the intelligence officer who released all the stuff to WikiLeaks,
Mm-hmm.
and she was being held in contempt of court for not testifying something about that whole situation.
Now she's out.
That's it.
Okay.
So
Roaming the streets.
that's right. Colorado school vigil. For the shooting, you might not have heard about it.
I did hear about it. There was a
Okay.
walkout.
Yeah, they walked out of the vigil because it turned into a political gun rally, anti-gun rally.
Anti-gun rally, yeah.
And they were all like, "Hey, we're here to honor the students."
Yeah.
But I just thought it was interesting.
Now, I mean, what people don't realize, forget, of course, is when was it last week that they had the shooting?
Yeah,
And how many people were killed?
I think it was just a couple of people.
a couple of people wounded and
Yeah,
so forth. This was the one where the two teenagers walked in and did it.
yeah, It was like a
One girl that was a guy or a guy.
Yeah,
whatever,
trans person,
sort of trans. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So they had the vigil, and everybody came in and started going for the let's ban all guns. Okay.
Right. So
And the kids walked out. Good for them.
Fingerprints and facial recognition passwords are safe for now from being compelled.
I saw that.
To be used
So in other words,
to
they
unlock
can't
your phone.
force you to put your finger on your iPhone
Exactly.
to open it up.
That's right. Or even flash it on your face.
Really?
Yeah, for the facial recognition thing.
Now,
Because
one thing I will tell you. Here's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
This is very important. This is a hint. Make sure when you you have to do your finger all over the fingerprint thing. Do it with another finger.
Right.
Make sure it's this one or something, you know,
Right.
so that when they sit, so you can sit there with
when
this
they
one
cut
all
your
day
finger
long.
off.
Well, sorry,
Yeah,
you know,
that's right. I'm trying it. It's just not
it
working.
just does
here.
not work. No, that's what you do. Is
That would be a
you
good
make
method.
sure it's a different finger.
But yeah, you don't have to. For now, there's at least one federal judge. I think it's a federal judge who has ruled that that's impermissible.
Now, one of the things
Violation
that,
of your Fifth
there's
Amendment.
one of the things that I do is I always carry with me in the glove compartment those eyeglasses with the mustache and the nose.
Right, there you go.
And so,
That's right. Hold on, let me put on my disguise. All right. All right. And that, I'm going to say, is it. So,
until Wednesday.
that's right. So,
We got a new listener, Sandy. We had dinner with Sandy last night.
oh yeah?
And she's decided to make sure she's one of our listeners.
Okay.
And this is so. I've been passing out our cards everywhere I can. Our valuable cards. Let me see. This is our cards that they're valuable our valuable Jimmy Doane card. Am I still on or not?
Yeah, you are. It's showing up.
Okay, it's showing up.
It's a couple seconds behind.
There, okay.
Well, thank you, Cousin Bill, Kara, Chad, Robert. I hope you guys enjoyed it a little bit. We had some fun. Also, thank you to Kevin Cloud, who provides these music tracks for us. Nice tracks from Kevin. We appreciate it. I'm Counselor Curtis. This is the Jimmy Doane Show. We'll be back 4 o'clock on Wednesday. So join us at that time. And
Gonna see how Mrs. Jimmy liked her show.
Yep. All right, let's see. What do we got here for a good outgoing music? All right, we'll try that one. Funky Chunk. All right. See you soon.
Yeah, send us any questions if you need anything discussed. It's important. We'll discuss any topic you want, almost.
Maybe so.
Maybe, yeah.
You know, I like the other music better. There we go. All right. See you soon.